think a great conversation for us to have is to realize how easy it is for any of us to get discouraged, right? To feel like things aren't going the way that we want it to, and we just need a little bit of encouragement. And you've talked about God winks, the way that God can show us special little things if we're looking for them. So I think it's a great talk to have, to not only tell people that God is there, but if they'll look for it, they'll find that encouragement that they need. So tell us what you mean by God winks.
Well, I say sometimes, it was like a little wink from God. You know how it is if you really love somebody and maybe they can't come all the way across the room and give you a big kiss and a hug, but they just wink at you. It's just like a little special.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they see me.
Like a little bit of love.
They notice me. They know I'm here. They care about me.
Yeah.
And I think that we get that from God if we learn how to see it. And something that was really life-changing for me, and I know sometimes as Christians we throw that word around a lot, it was life-changing, but this really was a very big thing for me. In 1 John 4, in the Amplified Bible, it says we are to be conscious and aware of the love that God has for us. And it only says it that way and in that translation, but that it was like I learned how to watch for God's love. I learned how to watch for things that he did for me that otherwise I might have just chalked up to coincidence or not even paid any attention to at all. I mean, how many times are you in the right place at just the right time and meet just the right person that can open just the right door for you? And it's an answer to your prayer that you didn't, if you're not careful, you'll just miss it. I think a lot of times we pray for things and we forget we even prayed about it, and then God answers that prayer in some simple little way or through somebody. And, like even, oh God, I'm so discouraged. I feel like I need to be encouraged. And, then later somebody says something encouraging to you and you forget that you even,
very true,
prayed about it.
Yeah.
But I think that it can really increase the intimacy of your relationship with God if you learn how to watch for those things and not think, well, that was a lucky coincidence.
Yeah.
Or aren't you lucky? I'm not trying to be super spiritual here and say that, there's a problem with the word luck, but I think that when things turn out good for me, it's not just luck, it's God caring about me and blessing me. And
so what are some examples of God winks that you have seen that you can share with us?
Okay, well, I'll share one from a long, long time ago, and I'll share one from recently. 42, 43 years ago, when I was still just teaching home Bible study, 25 people every Tuesday night, wasn't in full-time ministry yet, had a big dream, a big vision, wanted to go all over the world and teach the Word and, all the things that I'm doing now, but they were just a dream. And as far as I knew, I was halfway crazy. I mean, there was nothing to make me think that would happen. But God needed to he needed to build and develop a relationship with me, a strong relationship with me, before I could even begin to really help other people.
Yeah.
And so because I'd been mistreated in my childhood, I really honestly didn't even know what love was. I mean, it was more just a word until I had a lot of teaching and understanding and, watched Dave and what love was for him and how he loved me unconditionally through things and watching God. And so I had quit my job to prepare for this ministry dream that I had, and we were a little bit short every month of having enough money to pay our bills. So it was like one of the first really, really huge steps of faith that we took. And it was like $40 we needed every month. So it had to come from somewhere miraculously. And I started back then keeping journals or little prayer notebooks or things like that. And I still have a little spiral notebook where I wrote in it, "Dear God, I'm asking you to provide these things for me." And on that list was I needed a new skillet. I asked for 12 new washcloths. I mean, just,
Real
I mean,
specific asks,
we were
yeah.
dependent on God
Yeah.
for everything that wasn't just paying one of our monthly bills.
Mm-hmm.
And so I still remember a day when my doorbell rang, and it was a lady I didn't know. And she said, "I hope you don't think that I am stark raving mad," but she said, "I really felt like that God kept impressing me to bring you 12 new washcloths." And I just went berserk. The lady probably thought I was absolutely nuts because I knew that it was God.
Yeah.
And that did so much for my relationship with God because I knew that He heard me and that He saw me
Yeah.
and that
Cared about everything.
He cared about even my wash rags.
Yeah.
And then recently, I just had something happen where there's a certain medication that I've had to take for like 25 years, and suddenly they just stopped making it.
Which is disconcerting.
Yeah, there's a shortage of one of these ingredients, and we're no longer going to be making this medication. I didn't get a 3-month warning. I blah, blah, blah. So I had to find something else to replace it. Well, just about all medications come with some kind of side effects. And so I thought, oh, no, I don't want to go through that again. But at the same time, apart from that, I had not been feeling very well, and I'd been praying that God would help me. I just felt like I really needed more energy. Well, at first I was just like really disappointed, and then I thought, you know what? Instead of believing this is going to be a disaster, I'm just going to believe that God can give me something that will even help more, that will work better. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And I prayed about it. I did some study, and actually, when I went to the doctor, I said, "This is what I would like to try." And I've had a 20-year relationship with this doctor, so if you don't have a problem with it, this is what I would like to try. I've prayed about it and thought about it, and she said, "No, I'm okay with that. You can try that." And I feel so much better. There's just so many things that it's helped. Symptoms side effects I was having from the other medicine I'm not having now that have made things so much better. And then the new medication, I don't seem to be having any side effects.
Wow.
And so what looked like an oh no turned out to be a blessing from God, like Him say, see, He cared. The thing that's so cool about this kind of stuff is that God cares about every single thing that concerns you.
Yeah.
Everything. And if we can learn to see those things, I think we need to make a bigger deal out of the little things
I totally agree. You're
than
right.
what we do.
Yeah.
I do a message called Living Amazed. And I want to stay amazed at what God does in my life. I recall one time saying to the Lord, why don't you do the things in my life that you used to do when I first started walking with you? Like I would have some of the most, to me, like I'd have a question and I could open my Bible and there would be the very thing that, I needed. It just seemed like everything was so exciting, in those early days. And I had just kind of got into a lot of the humdrum, go through the motions.
Can't we do that so easily?
Yeah. And I said, why don't you do the things that you used to do when I first started walking with you? He said, I do. You've just gotten used to them.
Oh, ouch. Yeah. That's really true.
Wow. You've just gotten used to them.
Yeah.
Remember when you were so excited about everything you read in the Bible? It was just like, oh my gosh. You mean I can just, through learning how to think right, I can have more peace, or, wow, my words are that important. I don't have to be negative. That's my choice. So many things like that. Mm-hmm. But then we get used to those things, and I don't ever want to do that. I want to stay amazed at every little thing and every big thing that God does for me.
Yeah.
And I like to keep what I call books of remembrance, where I write down things like that God does for me. And then on days when I'm a little bit, I can, it's fun to go back and look at, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember those wash rags.
Right, yeah.
I mean, can you believe that? Right.
So specific.
Writing, yeah, I mean, and everything is not that specific, but we need to realize that God works through people. And so even if a person does something for you, that's still, I mean, that doesn't mean that it's not God working through them.
I had one of those recently where I just felt really strongly that I was supposed to tell something to a friend that made no sense in my mind at all. And they were looking for a job, and I just thought, I wonder if so-and-so, if they've talked to them, which did not connect to any jobs, didn't make any sense. And I shared it with them. And like the woman knocking at your door with the wash rags, she probably felt a little odd.
Oh, well, it was very bold of her to do that.
Exactly. So I just felt like, I know this doesn't make sense, but anyway, here it is. I'm just going to throw it out there. And it was a connection to a connection that led to a job.
Right.
So that was a huge God wink for me as much as it was for her, because it reminded me that God is hearing my prayers and speaking to me, and I'm hearing him and using me. You know how much we all need reminded of that.
Yeah.
So that was wonderful. And another one, like you said, with just the little things that really matter. I love snow, and we don't get a lot of it here in Missouri, but we get a little bit. And so
we get enough.
I don't think we do, but that's all right. We'll leave that for another conversation. But I was walking in the morning and not having a great morning, and just kind of grumbling and complaining and praying, if you want to call it that, but it was more venting to God. And this perfect little snowflake just landed right on me. And it was just one of those things that without a doubt, that's what God knew would point me back to him and remind me, this is a little wink that I'm here, I'm listening, it's going to be okay, because it was something that I love.
Right.
So those are very encouraging.
And, I'm thankful to be childlike enough to be able to believe things like that are from God, instead of being the skeptic. Wow, that could have happened anyway.
That is so true.
I think so many people miss a lot of just downright fun with God because they're so mature that they can't, they can't believe the little, well, that wasn't God. I mean, that was just coincidence, or that could have happened anyway. And well, it didn't happen anyway. I'd never had anybody before ever knock on my door and want to give me wash rags. And it is amazing how many times something will happen that seems negative. But actually, if you believe that it can work out good, it can turn out to be an answer to a prayer, that you've been praying for a long time.
Exactly.
Sometimes, like a person might be praying for a different job or a different career, but they're not bold enough to step out and actually leave where they're at and go somewhere else. Well, what happens if they get laid off? Well, they might think that's the most terrible thing in the world, but it could be God pushing them out of the nest, so to speak.
That's exactly right.
To force them to have to do what they really want to do, but don't have the courage to do.
Yeah.
And so I would just really like people to take what we've shared here today and start looking for the little winks from God in their own life. And let's make more out of those little things than what we normally would, because, anything that God does is not a little thing. That's something we don't need to celebrate.
That's so true. And it's very encouraging in all of our lives.
Good.